Straddling a perch high above the street, Quasimodo glanced up at the bell tower. Hugo, Victor, and Laverne waved down to him. "You're doing great," called Hugo. Quasimodo grabbed onto a festival banner rope and continued to rappel the steep wall. Then at last, where he'd almost made it to the foot of the cathedral, the rope snapped. "Oof," he grunted as he landed unhurt. Amid the throng of masked, feastful gores, merrily they helped him to his feet and scampered along their way. Quasimodo dusted himself off and looked around. The mobbed streets were a little scary. Taking a deep breath, he joined the jostling crowd. In noticing aromas hung in the air, in the sounds of horns and drums vibrated in his head, people were dressed in an amazing array of funny topsy-turvy costumes. A man in a dog outfit scrolled by, walking a man on a leash. Then two people dressed as a horse, with a tail at both ends, bumped into him, wrecking his balance. Quasimodo was almost knocked over again by a man on stilts. Confused, he stumbled into a dressing tent next to a wooden stage and bumped against the table, knocking everything on into the ground. Esmeralda, fastening a gold ornament on her hair, rushed towards him. "Are you all right?" she asked. "I'm sorry," said Quasimodo. "I didn't mean to." Esmeralda helped him to his feet. "No harm done," she said. She showed him the way out of the tent. "Why don't you stay and watch the show?" Thank you," stammered Quasimodo. "That would be very nice." "By the way," said Esmeralda, grinning at him, "great mask." At once Quasimodo turned away and hid his face in his hood. Then, hastily, he took a place close to the stage. Come all, see the lovely Esmeralda dance." A man shouted to the crowd, "I, Clopin, the leader of the gypsies, welcome you." He threw some powder into the air and it exploded to a puff-colored smoke. When the air cleared, Esmeralda stood poised before the cheering crowd. As she began to dance and play her tambourine, Quasimodo's heart thumped wildly. He could never have imagined anything so beautiful. Seated a low reviewing stand and frowning Frollo watched Esmeralda dance. She glided over to him and teasingly wrapped her firmly scarf around his neck and tipped his hat forward. Frollo pulled away, but he could see that Phoebus was clearly enchanted by her. As she returned to stage to finish her dance, Esmeralda winked at Quasimodo, half hidden in his hood. He blushed and lowered his eyes. Clopin stepped forward and raised his hands to quiet the applaud crowd. "And now the moment you've all have been waiting for," he announced. "It's time for the crown the King of Fools for this year's Festival of Fools. Because our festival's a time when everything's topsy-turvy. The King of Fools must be the ugliest man in town. Constance, take your places," Clopin called out to the crowd as Esmeralda removes the masks. "Vote with your applause for the most frightening and horrible." Esmeralda went straight to Quasimodo. "Come on," she whispered. "You're sure to win." No, he pleaded. "Please." Esmeralda pulled him by the hand. As he stepped up on the stage, Quasimodo's cloak slipped from his back. The Constance climbed up and stood next to him. A man wearing a fish head paraded past. Others sported head of separate sharp-beaked birds and sea monsters Once consent swore the face of a gargoyle, Esmeralda began to remove the masks. The crowd cheered or booed for each of them. Now, he's there's a really ugly mask, Clopin said when Esmeralda reached Quasimodo. Esmeralda, take off this man's mask so we can see who he is. Esmeralda gently tugged at Quasimodo's face. Oh, she explained, realizing it wasn't a mask. Quasimodo firstly looked for an escape, but the stage whirled before his eyes and he felt fond. It's Quasimodo, someone cried. It's the bell ringer from the cathedral. Ashamed and frightened, Quasimodo buried his face in his hands. Ladies and gentlemen, announced Clopin, we asked for the ugliest face in all of Paris, and here he is! Quasimodo, the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Quasimodo, Quasimodo, roared the crowd. They rushed forward and Clopin crowned him with a floppy jester's cap. Lifting him high on the shoulders, departed out into the street. Quasimodo felt an unexpected surge of happiness. Frollo has been wrong. The people didn't hate him. He was going to be their king. The lunatic who chased Esmeralda that morning yelled to the crowd, "You think he's ugly now? Watch this!" Taking aim, he threw the tomato at Quasimodo. The juicy fruit hit Quasimodo square on the head. Others joined him, pelting him with fruit. "Gifts from your royal subjects," he jeered. "Stop it!" shouted Esmeralda, but her voice was lost in the din. Then someone threw a rope around Quasimodo and tied him to the poultry wheel. Laughing, the crowd threw more fruit at him, straining at the ropes. Quasimodo looked about wildly for help. He spotted Frollo and the tallest soldier watching nearby. "Master!" he cried out. "Master, please help me!" Frollo sat still. "Sir," Phoebus said, "I request permissions to stop this cruelty." He put his hand to his sword hilt. "In a moment," replied Frollo. "A lesson is to be learned here." Esmeralda made her way towards the party. Quasimodo, frightened and embarrassed, leaned away from her. "Don't be afraid," she whispered. She began to wipe off.